I know what you're saying.
I'm still prepared at 27. Well, I think so. And let's see what we are.
So our time.
So that's important for a lot of people. Especially after.
Okay.
I read every day.
I'm right. Welcome everyone to the February 4th, 2025 council meeting. Prior to the open session, council met for a closed meeting. It was moved by Councilor McCann and seconded by Councilor Borneman. Pursuant to section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a special meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to B, personnel matters of an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, staff member compensation and board appointments. C, a proposed dependent acquisition or disposition of land for municipal or local board purposes, property disposition. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, Parry Sound Area Municipal Airport. F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, Parry Sound Area Municipal Airport. And K, a positioning plan, procedure, criteria, instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board property disposition. And that was carried and the meeting was held. I'd like to remind everyone that the meeting is live streamed and recorded and available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound website at www.parrysound.ca. I'd like to also acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. Next is the agenda. And mover and second for the agenda. Councillor Ashford, Councillor Borneman, that the council agenda for February 4th, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any additions or changes? No. All in favor then? That's carried. Any disclosure, security, or interest of the general nature thereof? Nope. Okay. Mover and seconder for the minutes. Councillor Boleski and Councillor McDonald, with the minutes from the regular council meeting held January 21st, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any discussion or comments on those minutes? All in favor then? Carried. Questions of staff? Councillor Keane.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for Mr. Cairns. I realize, Mr. Cairns, there's been a lot of snow in our area, and I recognize, the plows have been out, and certainly we're trying to remove snow in different areas, and there's a listing of what streets where snow is going to be removed. But one of the concerns I know also the taxpayers have is that the hydrants. Not all the hydrants seem to have all the snow removed around them, and I did notice myself today the hydrant nearest the library seems to be a little weak in the amount of snow removed. So is there a plan and a frequency as to how often the snow is removed around the hydrants? Because I know that's certainly a safety concern for all.
Through your worship. So certainly, we don't have a set plan for snow removal around the hydrants. It really depends again on the quantity and frequency of snowfalls. We do speak with the fire department regularly, and we do know that staff are a bit challenged right now. It is on the list, and staff are making their way around this as quickly as they can. Keeping in mind, there are other tasks that come up for those staff that remove the snow around the fire hydrants, whether it be water staff, dealing with perhaps water breaks and those sorts of things. So we try and work a schedule that works for everybody and try and get to them as quickly as possible. Now, having said that, I would certainly encourage anyone that sees a fire hydrant that may need attention to please, if you want to adopt a fire hydrant, perhaps that's certainly not a bad thing. They're there for everyone's protection, and certainly we are working at getting at them. But if you live near a fire hydrant, you see it and you want to take a few minutes and clear around a meter around the fire hydrant to help in case it's ever needed, I would certainly encourage that. The help would be much appreciated. Sometimes in these events, it's really hard to get caught up.
Thank you. I can appreciate that, there's only so many hours in the day and there's so many hands, but, I would hope that, one could establish maybe something like a quota to, try to get, the snow removed around those hydrants on a more regular basis, because, certainly there are residents and, pay taxes and are concerned about what if there's a fire and blah, 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 the snow isn't removed, so maybe that could be examined, or some sort of quota, so one can keep working at it.
Through you, your worship. So, I mean, it's certainly something we can look at. It's very difficult, given the more traditional winter like we're having this year. There's a limited amount of staff, a limited amount of equipment available, but we certainly will take advantage of all the resources we have to try and get caught up.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Correspondence, Ms. Johnson.
Yes, Mayor McGarvey, there are 4 items of correspondence this evening. The first is from Jennifer Norton, a teacher at Parry Sound High School and Intermediate School. Jennifer Norton also coordinates the school's food program for the entire student body and is writing this year, as she did last year, requesting Parry Sound's continued financial support for healthy, nutritious food program at Parry Sound High School and Parry Sound Intermediate School for the 2024-2025 school year. This item of correspondence has also been referred to the Director of Financial Services for consideration in the budget process as part of Council's discretionary funds. The next item is from Christine Logan of Logan's Funeral Homes. It's regarding mausoleum access, and essentially Logan's and I guess the other funeral home has had access to the mausoleum when staff is not actually present, and a new system has been implemented as of December of last year, requiring appointments to be made and access through staff. And so Logan's is inquiring as to whether the system can revert back to the system that they were working under for many years. I understand the Director of Public Works, Mr. Cairns, has provided some additional information to Council, and that may be something that would be useful for the public to hear later. The third item of correspondence is from the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, or CUPW. They are probably sending this letter to all municipalities, and our municipality received it regarding an industrial inquiry commission reviewing Canada Post. So as part of the return to work at Canada Post back on December 17th, under the Canada Labour Code, another section was implemented, creating an industrial inquiry commission that will work with CUPW and Canada Post to examine the future of the public post office with a very broad scope. CUPW is identifying that one of the commission's tasks is to review the obstacles to negotiated collective agreements, as well as making recommendations about the future structure of Canada Post. And CUPW notes that the last public review on the mandate of Canada Post in 2016, there was active engagement of municipalities, which was critical in the decision to maintain door-to-door delivery and immediately stop the further rollout of community mailboxes. And this may be something that's being considered again during this industrial inquiry. Therefore, CUPW has provided a draft resolution calling for greater stakeholder and public input, and ensuring that there is still an active post office and services remain. So that is up for council's decision or direction if they wish to use that draft resolution or some other sort of resolution. The last item of correspondence is from Minister of Rural Affairs, Lisa Thompson. It's essentially just a acknowledgement of receiving council's resolution regarding advocating a rural road safety program as proposed by Good Roads. And Minister Thompson notes that she understands the importance of this service and has shared the letter with Pravneet Sarkaria, the Minister of Transportation. And of course, we did also send this resolution to the Minister of Transportation. And that's the correspondence.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Kearns, with regard to 4.2 on the correspondence list, what kind of an update do you have on that?
Thank you, Your Worship. So here's my punches. Sorry about that. So in the correspondence, the slogan is absolutely correct about the charges. So I just wanted to clarify that there have been no additional charges for call outs after hours, that sort of thing. Any charges related to cemetery operations have to be approved by the BAO. So nobody has been invoiced any extra charges since the process has changed. We became aware in December of I guess the previous process that staff were unaware of, current staff were unaware of. There have been some changes in the way in which the cemetery has been administered in the last little while. So from a risk and liability perspective, especially, so just to clarify too, we don't operate a mausoleum. A mausoleum under the authority of the cemeteries is a different, it calls for above ground interment, for instance. So the authority that is in charge of cemeteries refers to as storage for the winter time. So we can't do in-ground interments. Bodies are stored, individuals are stored for the winter time. Previously, I guess, access was at the leisure of the funeral homes, which current staff were unaware of. So there's some potential issues with that from a winter control perspective. The grounds are not necessarily plowed, they're not shoveled, they're not sanded or salted. So there's some risk there from slipping, falling, tripping perspective as well. And additionally, we couldn't ascertain how many keys were necessarily over the years made available for access to the facility. So from a care and control perspective of the municipal facility, it was prudent to change the locks and have some control over access to the municipal facility. That's being facilitated at the request of the funeral homes requesting access. We do have staff on call 24/7. So it's just a matter of making a phone call to ensure that proper and safe access is available. Staff are available to lock and unlock the facility and facilitate that access for the funeral home. So that's essentially the change.
So I can understand periodically, changing the key so that you can control how many keys are out there. I mean, that's just logistics sense or whatever every so often. But are you aware of any incidents that have happened over the years where there has been an issue or whatever with the funeral homes, I don't know, having an issue getting in or out or any concerns?
Well, I can say no, but honestly, the current staff were unaware that the process was in place. So we were unaware that access was occurring. This was not about having an issue with either of the funeral homes. This was more of an issue from a risk management perspective. We were constantly bombarded from our insurance company, for instance, in terms of proper risk management and access to municipal facilities. So the process ensures that, I mean, I think in a way, it's actually, it is a change, I understand that, but it is beneficial to everyone involved because the municipality owns the facility and we would have the responsibility of ensuring that it is opened and closed properly. Whereas if a third party was accessing it, if there were ever an issue, that could bring into question what happened, whereas staff are responsible for this. Right now, we don't have other facilities that users, and this is a little bit different, obviously, but we don't have another facility where users are granted keys to access and utilize the facility in the absence of staff.
Councilman McCann.
So thank you, Mr. Kearns. I get what you're saying. I made a few phone calls to see what was happening with regards to funeral homes in Huntsville and Midland. And they too have to get in touch either with the cemetery staff or depending on the city itself. The folks at Logan's are asking if it's possible, and they're willing to work out some sort of an agreement or memorandum of understanding. Would it be proper for us to have some sort of a meeting with them, so at least so that they can have a better understanding of what the town's liability and risk is, and perhaps work out some sort of MOU as to future access? Because as Mr. Mayor said, sometimes, things with families happen, and it's a very sensitive issue when, when a loved one passes on. So is it possible that we could meet with the staff, could meet with the funeral home operators and work out some sort of a workable solution?
Through you, Your Worship, certainly we're willing to meet with anybody at any time to have discussions. I think there have been at least a number of accesses since the one of concern without issue. I should add that as well. So there's been at least 3 other instances since December that access has been facilitated by staff without issue. So perhaps it was the initial change that was the issue. But we can have a chat with them and certainly meet with them. That's not a problem.
Thank you. Councilor Keith.
Yes, it's more of a comment. I think it's really unfortunate. Times have changed, and I realize that, risk and liability is something that a municipality is looking at in all aspects. So I recognize that. But it does seem to me, maybe just to start with, and we often learn from hindsight, but it seems to me that if there had been clear communication, maybe right from the get-go, so that funeral homes knew why the policy was changing, and if it had to do with liability and risk, et cetera, that maybe, the understanding and where we are now would have worked a little bit better. But I do also recognize, and I understand that staff being called out so that the mausoleum can be open. I recognize that's a cost that in the operation, but I think we also have to recognize in the end, it's going to be a cost to whoever is a family of the deceased, because everything now costs money. So if staff are coming out to open that building up, we know ding ding is going to sooner or later going to hit the cash register, hit the bill for that family. So communication, I think, is really important. So I'm hoping there can be a meeting and that communication can be clearly explained. And, I think that's always good for anything if we're communicated ahead of time before things change. Thank you.
So just before I go to Councilor Pileski, maybe then we had direction that staff meet with the 2 funeral homes to have the discussion on the new format and to see if anything else can be ironed out or whatever to make it more seamless or easier access to make sure that bereaving families' needs and the funeral home's needs are taken care of as well. So it's kind of broad scope, but I think that would be important.
I agree.
I would move that.
Well, I think we've got Councilor Keith and you. Okay. Councilor Gillespie.
Thank you, your worship. I believe a meeting would be very important. The insurance, the funeral home business is very, very highly regulated. There's extremely high regulations on them. So I think that a meeting with them to explain what they need or what they're looking in. And unless I misunderstood Mr. Curran, he had said that what was not going to be a charge anymore. Is that correct?
Through your worship, so the initial communication indicated there would be a call out fee. However, as you mentioned, it is a highly regulated industry. And even the municipality, any fees that are charged in relation to the cemetery have to be approved by the Bereavement Authority of Ontario and be contained in the bylaw to be able to be processed. So there is no charge.
There is no charge, thank you, your worship. And if there was going to be a charge, they would need to kind of know that in advance, because when they sit down with the families, they have to get the price in advance, and they can't come a month later and say, oh, we had to pay an extra so much to get in. But let's hope that cost doesn't get put forward to them, and that's approved. If you have staff on call at the time, it's not really an extra charge to get them to come out to make sure it's approved. You know what I mean? It doesn't really cost anything if they're already here. Thank you.
Okay, anything further on that direction? All in favor then? That's carried. The other one is, do you want the resolution brought to the next meeting with regard to the Canadian Union of Postal Workers on the industrial review that they're doing? That's something.
I would say it's great.
Okay, we're all in favor of that? That's carried, so next week. Okay. All right, next are deputations, and we have Mr. Ron Jenkins regarding road industry. Come on forward and.
Hello, my name is Ron Jenkins. I live here in Parry Sound, and I have two things going on today. One is about the snow in front of my driveway, but I don't have a driveway. It's because when they raise the road up, they shut our driveways away, so we can't use them. So your plows plow in from all the way from the beer store corner, all the way down to my side of the street, in front of my house where I'm supposed to have a parking space. It gets all pushed in there because it's an open area. I'd like to know if you guys ever heard about your trucks that have the thing on the side that you press a button and it comes down and it stops it from going in people's driveways. And now when I'm asking you guys, and I called all the time about getting this removed, all I got was, in 2019, there was a bylaw saying that I'm responsible for that, but it's your property. You give me a permit to park there. It's because you took my driveway away. And when I have a wheelchair, but at this time, I'm medicated so that I could walk. But when I had to go somewhere, my mom passed away. And I asked you guys to move that snow so I could go to her light, a gift of light. And all I got was runaround. And that's not right. I'm very upset with this. And it seems like I got to run around. Then I had one person say to me on the phone, well, sorry, Mr. Jenkins, it's the bylaw. Well, number one, when you guys did the bylaw on the 2019, I didn't get a letter in my mailbox stating that that's what you guys were doing. You guys did clean my snow before, and now when I have a van come to pick me up, they will not pick me up. It's because they have to be on the road. They do not have the flashing lights like the school bus, so everybody will stop and then put me into the van to take me to my appointments, my doctor's appointments, not, they won't come near my house until that snow is gone. So I've been begging you guys to come and clean that snow away. And every time we get a snowfall, it gets bigger, because your plows come in and push it in. And I can't shovel the snow. I have a back problem. So like, I'm asking you guys to do something about it.
So we have both Mr. Kearns and Ms. Kruger, Ms. Kruger's online. With regard to the bylaw, which I know there was only an update in 2019, it had nothing to do with the mandate set out within the original bylaw. With regard to this, I believe. Either of you have some comments on what Mr. Jenkins is asking and what the bylaw actually said.
Well, you guys hide behind the bylaws, and that's not right either.
Well,
It's because we lost our driveways so that you guys could put and raise the road. So like, I didn't say you could do that. I didn't come here and say, hey, you can't do that, raise the road. But you guys just go and do it. And then afterwards, it was like, okay, since we took your driveways away, we will give you parking permits and you can park your car there. It's because we took your driveway. And I was talking to you earlier about this, Mayor, and you told me, what? You want to explain to these people what you said to me?
what, the fact that it's part of the bylaw and then,
No, what else?
well, it's the residents' responsibility to clean that out.
No, not where I live, no, because you took the driveways away. I can see people that have the driveway and they go in and out.
Mr. Jenkins, you're making this confrontational, which I don't appreciate.
Why? Because it's the truth. What, you don't like when it comes to be the truth. And it seems like this, Mayor, I think you should be stepping down.
Mr. Jenkins.
Okay, because number one, okay, I have the other thing about 2019, November, Wednesday, the 27th. I was here about you fixing the sidewalks. The sidewalks are not getting fixed. What you've been doing is spraying the new roads to make them pretty, but not doing the sidewalks. That's 6 years, Mayor, 6 years. And you haven't did nothing.
We just.
You got a guy to come.
Mr. Jenkins?
There's two things that you did. There's two things you did. One, you got a guy to come around with a machine to go around and test the sidewalks. Then you had another guy just a year ago, or I believe a year ago. You had a guy go around, take pictures of the sidewalks and spread the yellow or orange thing around it. Now, he did that, and the other thing is, I got told from you that you won't pay to fix my wheelchair, that it broke because of your sidewalks. you told me that it was okay. No, we don't do that. Yeah, you do, and you told me that it was wear and tear. I wouldn't have wear and tear if he fixed the bloody sidewalks.
Mr. Jenkins, we did a major amount of repairs of sidewalks on William Street last summer.
No.
Yes, we did.
Oh, wait, I called them, I was talking to the gentleman, and he said that he did it, they did that? It's because your snow blower guy needed more room for that machine. You're only doing one side. You only did one side. And I said, are you doing it on the other side? He said, no.
Mr. Jenkins, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to listen. You can listen to Mr. Kearns or Ms. Kruger, okay? I do not want to make this confrontational, but if you continue, I will ask you to leave, okay? I will only put up with so much because we have done a lot. And if it's not satisfactory to you, well then, I'm sorry, but it has been satisfactory to a number of people, the work that we've been doing, and we don't have unlimited resources because we have people that don't want their taxes going through the roof. So I'm going to let Mr. Kearns explain the bylaw and what goes on. And if Ms. Kruger wants to talk about any of it as well, and I would appreciate it if you would just listen. Mr. Kearns.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, to put some context to the date in the bylaw, every time a bylaw is updated, it takes on the latest revision date. That doesn't mean that the entire body of the bylaw was changed, and that is the case in this instance. My understanding is the retaining walls and the parking areas were in around 2000 is my understanding. Don't quote me exactly on that date. So they've been in existence for quite some time. I'm not sure of the circumstances, but they were established with permit parking for the affected residents that evidently didn't have driveway entrances. No different in this case than if you had a driveway entrance, we do not come and remove the snow from the ends of people's driveways around town. So in this case, the bylaw is written so that the permittee is responsible for removal of the snow, much as you would be if you actually had a driveway entrance at your property. So in the absence of a driveway entrance, you have a permitted parking spot, but are still responsible for the snow removal. And I know Mr. Jenkins mentioned something about a gate. Our trucks, we plow with wings. So there are no contraptions, and I've seen a number of them around North America in different locales that try and remove snow from driveways. That's not something we're capable of. Our equipment and our snowfalls are not conducive to allowing us to do that. So unfortunately, everyone gets snow in front of their properties, whether it be a permitted parking spot or a driveway entrance, residents and businesses alike. So I'm not sure if Ms. Kruger wants to add anything in terms of bylaw or.
Ms. Kruger, do you have anything you need to add?
Good evening, Your Worship. I can just add that the regulations governing the permit parking spots have always been within the bylaw to regulate those permit spots. So once they were created, the regulations that go along with them were also included in the bylaw. And one of those is that the permittee or the person holding the permit is responsible for snow removal. That's for the permit spots on Williams, similar to other permit spots within town. So those regulations have always gone along with the permit spots.
And that was well before 2019, closer to 2000 when they were created, correct?
Through Your Worship, yes, they were created before 2019. That is the most recent parking bylaw, which is why that would be given as the current parking bylaw number, but it was long before that when the permit spaces were put in sometime in the early 2000s, I believe is the correct time frame.
Thank you. And Mr. Kearns, one more question. The sidewalks that were completed this past summer?
Yes, Your Worship, the most recent projects include, I guess what I'll refer to as the north side of William Street from, I'm going to gap on the name of the street now.
Cascade.
To Cascade, the entire length of the north side and, cross street to cross street, and then from Cascade to Parry on the south side. So, and in recent past, we've completed sidewalk installations, on Winifred as well, including crosswalks, and we've done some crosswalk improvements and some other more localized repairs. And as you mentioned, unfortunately, we don't have unlimited resources, so we try and prioritize the repairs and ensure that we make advancements every year.
Okay. So, Mr. Jenkins,
Yes, sir.
those are the answers to your questions, or whatever.
Okay, can I
And the
ask one question?
responsibility that a property owner or a resident has
Okay.
in front of those.
Fine. Well, coming back to the sidewalk, when are you doing, what's up the street? Bull Street? Cause it's on the side of the gas station. It's very bad.
So through your worship, there are some localized sections of Bow Street that we plan on doing. And I think it's probably beneficial to add some context. The amount of work that we did last year was, sorry, I'm just
216,000.
just over $216,000 to complete that length of work last year, just to put some perspective to the cost of the sidewalk installation. So we do try and maximize the length of sidewalk that we can repair for the dollar amounts that are available, because they are significant. So in that case, we will do another assessment, and you were right, Mr. Jenkins, you pointed out, we do an assessment of the sidewalks. We do treatments of the sidewalks under the minimum maintenance standards under the Highway Traffic Act of the province is what we adhere to. And that act dictates what constitutes a treatment, where, and I know it's not always welcome, but drawing attention to a hazard using orange paint is considered a treatment under the minimum maintenance standards. And my understanding is the province has allowed municipalities to do that because we don't all have the resources to fix all of the issues that we have in any given year. So there are sections in that area that do need work that will be planned for in this budget cycle.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what it is. And, you know, and you were made aware, and you had asked for an accessibility committee, just to update. There is an accessibility committee. It does meet quarterly, I believe, at times. You have an opportunity at that time to find out when those meetings are, and if you want to discuss anything with them, you are more than welcome to.
Sure. Give me their phone number, I call.
Okay. Well, I'm sure if you reach the office, that they can let you know when they are. Okay. Anyway, we've exceeded our 10 minutes by quite a bit, or whatever, and I appreciate the fact that you came forward and expressed your concerns. Okay, thank you.
I told you I'm gonna be your thorn. I won't give up.
Next are reports. So we'll start with Councillor Keith tonight.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councilors, staff, and the public. Just a few things. I attended the AGM Chamber of Commerce meeting where there was a review of the last year. I'm sure that will be reported on further by Councillor Chris McDonald. It certainly showed all the things that have been done in the past year, all their efforts and plans for the future. And our MPP, Grady Smith, also attended. I also attended the ceremony at the local courthouse, for the public acknowledgement of the appointment of the Honorable Madam Justice Robin Bellows, and that was a very interesting ceremony. I have gone to a number over the years, and I find it always very enlightening. I also attended the soft opening of the Pizza store, which is, or restaurant, however you may term it, but it's next to the Hart store at the north end of the mall. Certainly it's a bright, clean, fresh looking building. The pizza tasted quite nice, and I understand in a few months also they'll be able to offer ice cream also. So that tells me that even though Wyerton Willie says we're having an early spring, in any event, we know that ice cream in summer is coming. So I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councillor Ashford.
Yes, snowy couple of weeks, but we have very exciting announcements for our expansion and updating and maintenance of our pump station #2 plant. So a great grant was approved by the government, and Minister Smith was here to announce. It was a wonderful little experience and great news for our town. And no formal meetings, but the other one that I've started to make a point to do almost every day on the way back from daycare is to take a look at what's going on at that pool. And I have to say, it's getting bigger and bigger, and I cannot figure out how they're able to do so much in the snow. But it's they're plugging away there every day, and there's always a crew working. And it's I can't wait to see what it looks like when the snow's all done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bassky.
Thank you, Your Worship. A fairly quiet couple of weeks. I did attend on your behalf to represent the town at the swearing-in ceremony for Justice Bellows. Man, there's a pile of lawyers there. Oh God, I'd hate to think how much money could be billed then. Man, oh man. Anyway, it was a very, very interesting ceremony. I had the opportunity to sit beside Councillor Keith, and she informed me some of the things that were going on, and I enjoyed it. It was quite interesting. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and public. With regards to the pool construction, yeah, I think the first time I saw the white beams going up, it was the white that caught my attention. And I want to give credit to an unsung hero, photographer Tom Morrissey. He has taken some spectacular shots on the ground, but he does some great drone photography, and he's kept everybody up to date on the construction of the school and ice formation on the bay, and of course with the pool. So thank you, Mr. Morrissey, for all the work that you do and for all the sharing and posting that you put together. Thursday evening, January 23rd, I attended the Westbury Sound District Museum board meeting through Zoom. We welcomed a new board member with the appointment of Roxanne Walker. Variety and numerous items that were originally stored in the old barn, you may recall we had, it's now been demolished, are being assessed for their value to the museum. Much of it has more or less going through a de-accession of objects, where the majority of these items just don't meet our collection mandate, and a large number are just in poor condition. This will free up some very much needed space and storage. Financial notes and reports from December were reviewed and accepted. With their review, I reviewed our exhibition policy, set our meeting dates for 2025. And so I'd like to pass my condolences along to the Bates family. Paul the bread man was a fixture in and around the area. You would see him delivering bread to corner stores, grocery stores, department stores, and he passed away within the last couple of weeks after illness, and was a gentle giant. And so my regards and condolences to his wife Diane and their children, and he will be missed. So rest in peace, Paul. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bergman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. I've had quite a couple of weeks as well. Earlier today, I attended a meeting at the Airport Commission, largely focused on budgets and review of the strat plan that seems to never end. I too want to congratulate staff for the hard work and the effort that was put into the grant that was approved or we learned of last week for the pumping station, and also to Ms. McNamara and her crew. They kind of flew under the radar, but they were successful in ascertaining $500,000 to upgrade playground equipment in the community. And I'm pretty sure more kids will enjoy that than the pumps at Main Street, but that's just a guess. And that's my report for this evening.
Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, fellow councilors, staff, and public. Not a lot to report on. I had, as mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce AGM on January 28th. I don't want to go into much detail because that's a different hat I wear, but the information can be found on the Chamber website. Summary. Same day, I did attend the announcement made by Graydon Smith at the Pump Station 2 with funding. On January 31st as well. In addition to Councillor Keith, joined the Pizza staff for their soft opening. Congratulate them. And that is the end of my report. And I would like to also comment on what a short agenda we have for today. I think it's probably the shortest agenda package I've seen. So.
It actually is.
Be grateful, my son.
Okay, thank you. Council, staff, and public, January 22nd was a public health meeting. January 28th, I attended the Chamber of Commerce AGM. Chambers had a good year in 2024 with increased membership, lots of activity on social media and promoting local businesses. Chris McDonald made an excellent year review or whatever at the meeting with regard to what's going on. Our MPP Graydon Smith was also on hand to say a few words. Then later, after that, at 11 a.m., the announcement was made that from our MPP Graydon Smith, the town received just shy of $3.1 million to build a new pumping station on Champagne Street with force mains to the water treatment plant. We've been working on this project and application for a couple of years now, and this is very welcome news. This will open up that area of town to a potential of more than 2,000 residential units. We are grateful for the funding and certainly thank you to staff that put the effort into making this all happen. Also, the playground equipment, that was a real bonus day when, we heard that there was the money for the playground equipment. And thank you, Ms. McNamara, for, pulling all that together along with probably Ms. Phillips and everyone else that went along with that. January 30th, I attended the AMO Committee of the Whole meeting. We had a great presentation from Tony Stiles, an economist. And he gave us an overview of the impact on Trump's tariff disputes that he's just created. Although it seems as though we've got a 30-day reprieve. And the impact not only on Canadian business and the local Canadian economy, but on the American economy as well, and how that's would be affected. So January 31st was an AMO board meeting. There was lots to discuss with the provincial election. And AMO's been reaching out with a message that when anyone has the opportunity, whether they're in front of one of the candidates of any political party, to come to the door or an all candidates meeting, ask each of them the three areas of concern. One is healthcare, the other is housing and homelessness, and the other is infrastructure funding. Just so the public knows, through municipal tax dollars, municipalities support the healthcare system in Ontario to the tune of $4 billion every year. Healthcare is a provincial responsibility. It's not something we should be paying on our property taxes. Housing was downloaded just before 2000 municipalities, two municipalities many years ago. It was a provincial responsibility. But again, municipal ratepayers are supporting this through your tax dollars. Homelessness that we're facing or whatever, and encampments are also a provincial responsibility, but municipalities are the ones that are having to deal with it. Infrastructure, to create more housing, municipalities need more infrastructure money to upgrade and build new water and wastewater services so more housing can be built. I will say that we were lucky and to receive the funding that we need to do some very needed improvements. And I have to thank our MPP for doing that. So if you get the chance, ask the questions of the candidates that need to be asked. Why are we paying through our municipal taxes for provincial responsibilities? And that you can't blame just one government, because these downloads have been happening for years, through different successive governments. So, yeah, if you get the chance, ask those questions because they need to give you the answers. February 2nd was a celebration for Nina Archer's 100th birthday. And it was a pleasure to be on hand to bring best wishes on behalf of council to Nina. There were a number of friends and family on hand to celebrate this as well. And her actual birthday is February the 8th. But certainly, congratulations, Nina. Those 100-year celebrations are amazing. Anyway, that's my report. And let's see what we can do to wrap up this meeting. Oh. Moved by Councilor Borneman and seconded by Councilor McCann that the appointment of Dave Williams to the Parry Sound Downtown Business Association is ended effective February 4th, 2025. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I need to move and seconded for the direction. Councilor McCann, Councilor Key.
Actually, can I rescind that? This is on the taxis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to rescind my movement because
Okay. So, Councilor Key. And Councilor Borneman. The council directs staff to provide recommendations on deregulating the taxi system in the town of Parry Sound. Councilor Blessing.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to be sure, the intent here is to look at a new system or another system of doing it and then come back to council for that. That's good thinking.
Yeah, it will be sort of Ms. Kruger, there'll be more than one look at these things. There'll be different options, correct?
Through your worship, absolutely. This report is just asking for council's direction to come back with some options to meet the needs of our transportation services here in Parry Sound.
Yeah. Councilor McCann.
thank you. I really struggled with this one, and I'm not prepared to support this evening, with all due respect to the bylaw department. The question that needs to be asked, why do we only have one taxi service in town? If we had a right market for the competition, I would expect that there would be another service in town by now. In the past, there has been. An old timer like Mr. Warman tells me there were plenty at one time. Anyhow, as long as there's just a single taxi company in town, I prefer not to see deregulation at this time. I've done some research on this. There are safety concerns. There's concerns over price volatility. Those are my two main concerns. I really, there's a lot of talk of Uber and some of these other riding platforms, ride sharing. I don't understand a lot about it. I don't know that it's allowed here in town. It would be nice to look forward to this new technology. We have a part of our demographic is very large with seniors, and a lot of them still depend on the telephone to order their taxi, and don't seem to have the wherewithal to, or I should say desire to fiddle with these phones to try to call up a taxi through an app. So anyhow, I just, we don't have public transportation, and I feel right now that a regulation on this industry is best for the consumer. If another company should suddenly come in and we've got a good competitive market, then maybe it might be time to look at deregulation. But for now, I don't support this.
So with all due respect, Councillor McCann, this is exactly what we're going to be doing, is looking at all the options. So it's not just deregulation, there's a variety of different options that staff are gonna look at and bring those forward so that we can discuss them. And just what you're talking about, like other options or whatever, that sort of thing. This is a gathering of information.
No, I hear you, and I hear what you're saying. It's just that my concern is this sounds like it's leading to deregulation, and now I did read as well in my research that some key considerations would be the gradual implementation. So maybe that is something that we can, anticipate in some of the ideas that come up. I might be speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but I was just scared that this was working towards deregulation.
We will look at all the different options. Chief Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These councilors' concerns maybe, directly to Councilor McCann's point, we currently have one taxi company in town. That one taxi company has been able to monopolize all the taxi licenses. At this point, with the bylaw the way it is, we don't even have other licenses to be able to get out to competition if they were here. So what Ms. Kruger and I have discussed is providing council with a number of options that will include some level of deregulation, and if council wishes, there may be some areas where we can greatly improve the product that's going to be offered to the seniors in the community and people who are in need of this type of service. That's what our intent was here, was to get direction to go back. We did want to get a taste for what council's thoughts were, so that when we bring them forward, we're going to be able to bring options that are palatable and of interest to council.
So as a follow-up to that, I get what you're saying, but I guess my question is, right now, we've got complaints of long wait times. I know that the company, in the past, I've been told that it's hard to find drivers, and to me, it makes me wonder how and why don't we have a second taxi company in town? And if we deregulate this and we're reducing prices, how is that going to, how is anybody going to operate a healthy transportation system? I just look at the pie, and to me, it's a very small pie to try to strike a cut.
Chief Thompson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would just like to mention, if we do things the same way we've always done them, we're going to get the exact same result.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Councillor or Ms. Kruger and I are thinking about, is how can we do things differently so we get a different result? That's what we want to bring forward to council.
So I'm wondering if deregulation is the hang up with Councillor McCann and what it is. And I'm wondering if we change that to remodeling.
I can live with that.
Improving, well, whatever, remodeling
Remodeling.
the taxi system. Well, actually, Councillor Ashford had his hand up, and then Councillor Keith.
I had two questions just for information about it. The one, and one, I guess more of a suggestion too, that I just think with our taxi company's been around as long as I've been here. So I just hope as part of this process that they would kind of be consulted, be able to give input and stuff, on things that, you know, might be able to improve it from their end as well. And presumably that's on the plan already. But then, the second part of it is, I was just wondering how this does play into, Uber Eats, or sorry, Uber transportation. I got, you know, I got an email today.
It's already here,
I got an email today, I've done one Uber Eats, I did an Uber grocery, if I could do an Uber ride, I get 250 bonus points, right? So like, it's the trio of their services, but just does it connect into that? Cause just, we got a growing community and the folks that do come deliver with Uber Eats and the different ones, they're hungry for work. So is this tie into that anyway, or is this completely separate, or how does it kind of fit in?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think, Ms. Kruger would be the best person to provide that.
Certainly, through your worship. For the first part of your question, I actually spoke with our current taxi company today to let them know that tonight's report was just to sort of get direction from council to have a look at what options, may serve our community. Deregulation was something we would consider amongst other options. We definitely want to look at what is going to serve our community, what might help fill the gaps in our transportation services. And speaking of rideshare, we don't currently have any rideshare in Parry Sound, any formal rideshare that's operating, and there are many barriers likely to that. But deregulation can even the playing field, because if rideshare does come to town, they can't be regulated by traditional taxi systems. It doesn't work. Other municipalities have found this out the hard way. There are some other avenues you can look at to manage them so that the taxis and the ride shares are being treated fairly. But we certainly don't want the taxi services which we currently have, which we obviously rely upon as a community. We don't want them to be facing barriers to operating because they're not a rideshare service. And we don't want to close the door to rideshare services. So we want to try to find what is going to work best to serve the community overall and have more transportation options.
A quick follow-up. Okay, so if rideshare wanted to start tomorrow, they could start in Parry Sound if it was there, if they so chose.
Through your worship, they wouldn't fit within our traditional taxi licensing services, and yet they would be violating some aspects of the bylaw by offering rides without following the regulations. The nature of how they work does not work with the traditional licensing of drivers and vehicles, but there are ways forward to manage rideshare.
I was just going to propose what I would consider a friendly amendment that might be able to accommodate also what Councillor McCann is stated, which would be to add the words after on, I'll just put the whole sentence. The council directs staff to provide recommendations on deregulating or other options available for the taxi system in the town of Parry Sound. That could allow a report to bring us all the information that we would be able to examine.
Yeah, that's right. We need a seconder for that, your proposal. Okay, Councillor Valesky. Discussion on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? The amendment is carried. Councillor McCann, you have a hand.
Well, I just, before we voted, I was going to say, I agree with Councillor Keith. I like the word remodeling, that suits me, but I think close that part.
Yeah.
I think this is fine.
Yeah.
We can move with that.
Anything further on this as amended? All in favor then? That's carried. Yes, Councillor Gordon.
I'm not sure if this is for Chief Thompson or Ms. Kruger, but, there are different people talking about things like shuttles on the waterfront and whatnot. Would all of those things fall under this bailiwick Would the number of taxi licenses and driver licenses be considered in these discussions?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Kruger and I think they're having a need for a very fulsome report to come forward. Numerous options and times are changing. And my 88-year-old mother is now using Uber. She's done it 3 times and is quite excited about it. There's many ways we probably need to and should change. So all these things will be discussed and presented in a fulsome report.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to ask Chief Thompson if his mother, when he was a child, had said, "Don't take a ride with strangers."
I need another mover and seconder. Councilor McCann, Councilor Ashford. Staff prepare a report on the options or opportunities for the placement of a sign on Bay Street owned by the town for advertising purposes of local businesses in the waterfront area. Councilor John?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I wanted to bring this forward because I've had several meetings with some of the businesses down on the town dock regarding signage, and there had been an issue with temporary portable sign that was there that had to be removed. There's been complaints about sandwich board signs being unsightly. So I just thought this might be a good opportunity for the town to maybe install something a little more permanent that will have a nice design to it that will allow the businesses that are down there to be able to advertise and have it on the town property and have it more permanent, so. Yeah, Thompson has a little bit more to add to that as well, but.
Go ahead, Chief.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the discussion with Mr. Vanderveer and Ms. Kruger identified that a sign on municipal property would not be allowed by a current sign bylaw. So it would be denied at the submission process. So anything of that nature is going to need specific council approval. If there's direction for staff to work towards something like that, then, you know, we would go back and we try to put something together and bring it forward for council consideration. That would have to be the avenue that we would go through for something of this nature.
I guess the other question that needs to be asked too is if, let's say we put up a standard of some kind or whatever for that, who then pays for the sign that's on the standard? Because if we pay for the sign for the business, then there are a lot of other businesses in town that would be saying, why are you paying for them? I pay taxes, I do this, whatever as well. So if those businesses paid for their own sign, advertising as well, and I think something that would be in this would be that it is maintained by them as well, their own sign. Then I think that would make it more palatable probably with the other businesses. Anyway, Councilor Keith has.
Yes, well, thank you. I guess I'm a little previous to these comments because I am not clear. I need it spelled out. Where specifically are we speaking about for the sign? Because we know there's town property, but I'm not clear on what specific spot are we talking? Are we just doing this in general? I'm not clear.
Councilor McDonald.
So there's space available, you know where the musical instruments are down there?
Yes.
In that parkette kind of area, there is space in there potentially for a decent sized sign to be put up. The thought would be if it's on municipal property, where the town pays for the sign structure itself, and then offers up advertising availability for any business that wants to advertise on the sign. So that was the thought process there, as opposed to having all sorts of different individual signs and sandwich board signs cluttering up the Bay Street.
Chief?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have been involved in a similar process of this when I was in Seguin. At that time, we totally redid our sign bylaw in Seguin, and it virtually eliminated a lot of advertising that had previously been available. One of the avenues we pursued was putting up the signage that you actually see in the transfer stations in Seguin. What those signs are, they're municipally owned, municipally managed, and people apply to have a place on it. And it therefore is well maintained. There's a number of things that benefit the process. Now, different because the transfer stations were chosen because all residents generally went to transfer stations, and therefore there was visibility. I guess what I'm trying to describe is that there are options and there are models out there already to do something of this nature. Staff would have to, do some research about like communities charters and how they manage similar situations and what possibilities could be for council consideration.
Good. Well, the other option too is Mr. Kern is maybe take a look at that transfer station that we have in McFarland. Maybe there's some advertisement that could go there for various businesses. A lot of businesses go there to get rid of different items, and so do residents, and there's an opportunity. That's their key.
Why not? I was also just wondering when this report is being prepared, would the option of also technology come into play? I'm thinking the electronic signs, will that also be examined as a possibility? And therefore, if it is, who's paying for the electric bill?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, those are getting to be extremely specific questions, and I'm not sure that staff have even had a chance to explore what some of the options would be yet at this time. We will try to bring another fulsome report back to council for their consideration. I guess the issue with this is that there is a timeliness to this particular situation in the fact that I would suspect what Councilor McDonald is trying to pursue is something that would be in place for this summer season. So there's a fair scope. We'll try to narrow it down and come back to council with something in the next month or two.
Yeah. Thanks, Councilor Warren.
Well, in order to get a straight line rather than coming here and going someplace else, does this need to go through the waterfront committee en route to coming back to this table? I would think.
I think it does. Yeah. Councilor Keith. And then
Just want to say the waterfront committee next meeting is February 24th. Thank you.
I was going to say that. Yeah, no, we're meeting next week.
Okay. So we're good? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councilor Ashford, second by Councilor Keith, that bylaw number 2025-7475 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councilor Ashford, second by Councilor Keith, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? That's carried. So, prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled for Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the Town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Stephen Street, entrance via Gibson Street, and will be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes, and instructions on such live stream and recorded council meetings are all posted on the council website. Go to www.parrysound.ca and use the search bar. Your TV airs council meetings on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following the regular council meeting, and for Cogeco listings, contact www.yourtv.tv. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
One again.